Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's episode of the program, we will be discussing about the struggle for a new national minimum wage. But first, let's take the news. We will be right back.
Labour says it is mourning because Nigerian workers receive lowest salaries in the world. Their leaders insist the 30,000 naira minimum wage as agreed by the tripartite committee is a foregone conclusion.
So this rally is to sensitize all our members, but importantly the political elites. They must realize that whatever they will do, they must be able to ensure the rule of law, justice and fairness and respect for a collective bargaining process which have taken place.
Sitting of the tripartite committee is done. We have closed and we are signing. We are only awaiting the chairman of the committee to invite us to present our report to Mr. President. We have agreed on a figure of 30,000 naira. All the stories they are telling us now are rhetorics that we never accept.
We are warming up for 6. This is not the main action. This is just a warming up for workers to know that the 6 is set aside for this action, and for the working, ruling class to also be aware that enough is enough as far as we are concerned.
From the Federal Ministry of Finance through the Federal Secretariat, where the office of the Labour Minister is located, the workers walked, chanting solidarity songs. It was a long walk ahead from the Secretariat through Abuja major roads to their final destination at the entrance to the presidential villa. But stern-looking armed policemen will not allow them to move further.
It's important to call on all the governors today to be able to assist President Muhammadu Buhari to realize his vision of adequate wages for the working people. Don't forget that this president even thought outside the box to give Bill 1, Bill Out 2, Bill Out 3, Paris Reform Fund to help some governors who are not paying salaries at Wendy, which means the president is committed. He knows the spirit of the constitution. In fact, at the point he asked some governors, how do you sleep without paying your workers?
Workers are suffering. We can't pay school fees, we can't pay house rent, we can't do so many things. And you know, once something goes up, if you have the prices in the market, everything has gone up. It can't come down. So something has to be done about the increments.
Their resolve is that a national strike will be inevitable if the 30,000 naira agreed upon as new minimum wage is set aside.
Labour unions in Lagos joined their counterpart in other states to hold a sensitization rally to compel the state government and federal government to pay the 30,000 naira new minimum wage agreed by the tripartite committee. The workers distributed leaflets to road users, mobilizing them ahead of the strike scheduled to begin on Tuesday, November the 6th.
The electorate of this country are the workers of Nigeria. We occupy the majority of citizens that believe in the election college, and we believe also that without our participation there won't be any voting. A process that believes in democracy should be able to offer minimum wage. A process of democracy should be able to provide a living wage for the people. That is why we are saying that if you are living in Nigeria, to remain angry, because hunger man is an angry man. If you remain in this their adamant position, giving excuses or playing a blame game with regards to minimum wage, the Nigeria organized labor will enforce a stay at home throughout the moment of the INEC election timetable.
During the walk, I met Olamide Sulaiman. He tells me he works with the state government and earns 18,000 naira as minimum wage. According to him, after tax, his take-home is 16,000 naira.
My salary is about 18,000 naira per month. After that 18,000 naira, they will move taxpayer and pension. So after that, remains 60,000 plus. So if I'm going home, if I close for work, if I'm going home, I don't use to join Star, but I use my own ticket to transport myself down home. So coming to work again in the morning, I'll also transport myself because I don't used to meet up with Starbucks. is about 600 naira per day. And out of that 80,000 naira, I use it to maintain myself, to manage myself.
The women wing of the Nigerian Labour Congress told Nigerians to stock up food at home ahead of the industrial action.
In this struggle, it's no longer men affair alone. It is women, because the women already said that no retreat, no surrender. Forward never, backward never. Enough is enough. People are suffering, women are suffering, because it is women that's receiving it most. Because when the men are not getting it right, women cannot get it right at home.
In November 2017, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari set up a tripartite committee to come up with a new national minimum wage. After several deliberations and a warning strike in September this year, organized labor, government, and the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association agreed on 30,000 naira. Days later, the Nigeria Governors Forum announced that they can only afford to pay 22,500 naira, which is about $62.
Our position must not just reflect a figure, but a sustainable strategy based on the ability and capacity to pay, as well as reflective of all developmental needs in each state.
With this development, I went in search of a worker who earns between 22,500 and 35,000 naira to see what the lifestyle of such worker is. Favour Anyanwu is a casual worker at a construction company situated in Lagos suburb. She tells me she earns 35,000 naira monthly, but it's not sufficient for her. Just before the interview, Favour Anyanwu pleaded that we keep her face out of the picture as much as possible. Can you tell me how much you earn every month as a Nigerian worker?
I'm earning 35,000 naira.
And is that sufficient for you?
It's not sufficient for me.
So if you earn 35,000 naira and you're saying it's not sufficient for you on a monthly basis, can you tell me, are you married? Do you have children?
I'm married, I have children, I have 3 children, and I'm married. And secondly, why the 35,000 is not sufficient for me is transport and my feeding.
Okay, so can you tell me how much you spend on transport and
my daily transport is 400 naira times 30 days, that is 12,000 naira. And I'm feeding myself 300 naira, that is 700 naira. Out of this.
A mother of 3, who is also the breadwinner of the family, tells me her job entails lots of risk and is not qualified to access healthcare and more. How safe has it been for you so far?
There's no safety there, no safety there. Accident happen, machine used to cut. For some department there that guests used to collapse because of the fire. And at the end of the day, they can use their salary to pay the hospital bill. If you're not able to take time after paying, you will not come back. You're not supposed to be like that. You don't take care who is working for you. It's not outside that you want to take care of. But I'm happy to be a Nigeria worker. But in that situation, in that incident and everything that is, I'm not happy over it. Because they're supposed to have their own clinic that will be take care of whatever coming out about us.
Favour Anyanwu tells me how much she would like to earn, as she can't afford an accommodation, but currently is cutting with a family member.
What I need from Nigeria, from our government, it should help us. At least 70-75 is not too much. After taking away transport and taking away your feeding, you can see have as much to assist yourself.
According to the Constitution, the minimum wage is due for a review, as the current 18,000 naira benchmark as the least a worker can earn in Nigeria expired in 2016. The Minimum Wage Act prescribed a 5-year cycle of review. Between 2016 and 2018, pump price of petroleum products increased by 85% and the devaluation of the naira by 100%. Thus, the cost of living and inflation increased. According to a data released by the Nigerian Labour Congress, here is a graphics of the figure 21 states presented during negotiation. The first National Minimum Wage Act of 1981 prescribes a minimum wage of 125 naira per month by President Shehu Shagari and Hassan Sumonu-led Labour Executive. This was revised in 1991 to 250 naira per month, negotiated by late Pascal Bafayu-led NLC with Adams Oshiomhole as deputy. Another round of negotiation opened in 1990. During the administration of General Abdulsalam Abubakar, the minimum wage was moved to 3,000 naira. The national minimum wage was revised again in 2001 to 5,500 per month for state workers and 7,500 for federal workers and oil-producing states. There were unique features to this deal. Provisions were made that the following year in 2002, there would be a 15% increase across board and a 25% increase in 2003. These, however, were not fulfilled. The current 18,000 naira minimum wage due for a review since 2015 was negotiated under NLC President Abdul Wahid Umar. From my findings, after interacting with Favour Anyanwu, she spent 50,000 naira on the average monthly but earns 35,000 naira. She is hopeful that the president will assent to a living wage for workers. Sharon Ijason, TVC News, Lagos.
State governments cannot claim inability to pay the new minimum wage because they were represented in that committee. And the committee agreed on 30% as a recommendation to the federal government. So if there is any state that cannot pay, the state should assemble all its workers and tell them, not in Abuja, but in their different states.
The first thing we need to determine is that what is this 22,500 about? Is it basic? Is it housing? Is it transportation? But as a minimum wage, it means it covers both the transport, the housing, the medical, the educational allowance, everything that makes a worker. So definitely, even eating alone, transport alone on 22,000 naira, I don't think it can take any Nigerian worker to the nearest bus stop, talk less of taking them home. So it's not adequate.
Even 30,000 that the NECA and the tripartite committee has agreed upon is not sufficient. So that 22,500 that the governors' forums are advocating for is unrealistic. And no worker will consent to that because we know that the ability of the state government is more than what they are canvassing for. So on the Aburi we stand. That 30,000 is where we stand, and that's what we are demanding. Let the governors' forum look inward and prioritize the wages of workers and pay. It's doable. They are able to. They have the resources to pay it, and so nothing less than that 30,000 that will make us to rescind on our agreement.
Let's just start by saying this. Who is even advocating 22,500? They said a body called the Governors Forum, but as far as organized labor is concerned and some sections of Nigeria, I believe that there is nobody that is being recognized as a Governors Forum. It's just a kind of an association coming together, and whatever they decide cannot be binding or on the workers per se. But when you look at the rate of inflation in the country anyway, even 30,000 that is now being used as a consensus figure is not even enough as a minimum wage or as a kind of wage at all that an average person can take home. I was talking to a labor leader, and the person believed that if you want to look at a living wage at all for a Nigerian, with what we have in the country right now, 70,000 should be the basic.
It's no more news that an average Nigerian worker is due for a salary review. And to discuss why Nigerian workers deserve a new national minimum wage, I will be speaking with several labor leaders who will be sharing their thoughts on the issue. Join me. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
A lot is happening in the labor circle, and top of it is the new national minimum wage struggle. And right now, as I speak, there's a court injunction which says that organized labor should not proceed on an industrial action. What's your take on this?
Well, the issue of industrial court, the Nigerian labor movement, we are not aware of any court order. We have not been served. We have not been, nobody has put us on notice for any court process to commence. And if they have secured one, it's best known to them. But let's look at it, assuming there is a court order. The court order is to restrain Nigerian workers from being paid 30,000 naira. Is that what the APC government is standing for? After adjoining Senedai on the committee sitting, after coming out to deny that they never agreed on 30,000 naira, after not putting, not budgeting for the payment of minimum wage in this year's budget. Now, you can see that they are wobbling and fumbling, looking for assistance. So, we didn't elect this government to come and get a restraining order on us from collecting our salaries. So, in as much as I'm not sure that any court will go and get order against workers seeking for their a genuine demand for minimum wage, is also laughable. You know, that's why they're going to get order. And this is coming from a government that doesn't obey court orders. So there's a bit of confusion. And I don't equally know why they could go and secure a court order and still invite people for a meeting. So what's the essence of all this? So I think there is confusion within government hierarchy.
Are you saying that the government has invited organized labor for a meeting?
They have sent an invitation for a meeting on Sunday, 4th November 2018. I'm not sure they have invited us for a meeting to negotiate the amount. If we are starting negotiation afresh, organized labor will go with its own fresh demand, and then it must take another tripartite committee be constituted if labor will buy into that. And then some other things must be taken into consideration, including payment of arrears, you know, from 2016 when the current minimum wage expired. Then we can look at that separately. But they say for reconciliation, maybe based on ultimatum and whatever. But I don't think that they are trying to invite us for a meeting to start to discuss whether it's going to be 30,000 or not. Far from it.
It's good to have you on the program.
My pleasure, Sharon.
The industrial court has given an order that organized labor should not proceed with the planned industrial action. What's your take on this?
Well, I'm happy you say there's an information. I'm not aware of that information. And to us, there's no court proceeding that someone else to attend any. And we strongly believe that with the new administration of justice procedures that we have, nobody should be able to shave your head in your absence. So except if it is secured from the back door, which we don't believe the National Industrial Court should do, right now, neither NLC, TUC, or any of us have been served that.
The Nigerian Governors Forum has proposed 22,500 naira as the new national minimum wage. What's your take on this? Is this acceptable?
We are not aware of any form of 22,500 because we have sat with the representative of the governors and we have resolved on 30,000 naira. So you cannot make an offer when the resolutions have been taken and some other members of the committee have already signed. We are only waiting for a date by our chairman to say, come, committee members, let's submit our report to the president. I think that is all we are waiting for.
What is your message for your members?
We call on our members to remain resilient. They shouldn't be intimidated and only receive directives from us, their national leaders.
It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me, Sharon.
A lot is happening in the labor circle, and top of it is the fight for a new national minimum wage. What's your take about the government getting a court injunction to prevent organized labor from actually embarking on an industrial action?
Well, Sharon, let me be honest to you. That shows that the government of the day is not committed, is not willing, is not ready for any new minimum wage. Going back into 2015 when they assumed office as a new government, the promises they made into 2016 when we adopted the increase of fuel price from 86.50 kobo into 145 naira. What all these promises were made, that look, once this is done, there's going to be palliative measures, there's going to be a new minimum wage. Without you setting up this, we can't get there. We need these things to be set up. It's just on what will I call it, on a shadow of promises, you know, and somebody living in his dream world. So I think that's what the government is. So for any government to get up to say we're going to get an injunction, after wasting or spending more than 1 year in talking about minimum wage from 2016 into where we are, so let me say about 2 years now, since the minimum wage expired, then something is wrong somewhere. We need that commitment, but if the government went ahead to say they're getting an injunction, I mean, they're not ready and not willing to get that done.
Would you say that 30,000 naira is a living wage for an average Nigerian worker, looking at the economic indices in place right now?
Sharon, is not a living wage. It's a far cry to what we demanded and what Nigerian workers' expectations are. To be honest with you, I'm a member of the Minimum Wage Committee. I represent the United Labour Congress in that Minimum Wage Committee. When you look at where we're coming from, in adopting even the common position of 65,000 naira as a position of labor was a compromise. Where we are today beat my imagination as well. But looking at the indices, and let's say, look, we got it wrong from the point of accepting just 18,000 instead of going higher than 18,000. And then you're talking about the percentage increase. How do we manage this and how do we get things right? Can we take it a step forward, in terms of saying, okay, 30,000, let's adopt that. But if you look at the various criteria or schedules of figures that were submitted by the Minister of Labor's subcommittee, the lowest is 35,000. But because the private sector felt they bear the brunt of whatever strike actions, can we look at what they can pay? They wouldn't want to go beyond that. Otherwise, actually, what the private sector submitted as a figure was 43,000. It is in the process of this new negotiation that they now said no, because of the exchange, the FS market, the economic challenges, the power generation issues, they withdrew the 43,000 and submitted 25,000. But Labour has never changed her positions. The only position Labour changed was the NLC and TUC, who moved from 52,000 to 65,000. So that's just the difference. Otherwise, what we got today is never a living wage. It's a far cry of the expectations of Nigerian workers. And when you begin to hear this attitude of government, saying that, or the governors inclusive, saying that, look, we don't have money to pay, and we hear trillions of naira being recovered, being expended, and so many things happening. We hear naira here. When you hear the figures, I'm sure you'll be so imagined. Wow, is Nigeria having such amount of money, so huge money to be spent? And then you now say pay workers 30,000. We'll start having, having these challenges we're having. It's very unfortunate.
We all know that if organized labor should commence the strike action, it will definitely affect the economy, which might not be very good for us right now. What can be done to stop or prevent organized labor from proceeding on this industrial action?
Well, the only thing that can be done to avert it is to comply or accept the concluded figure, which is 30,000. And then allow us to go and make the submission, the report to Mr. President for onward submission to the National Assembly. It's very unfortunate again, like I said clearly, that the political class that will give our political mandates to govern us are playing some kind of trickish politics on Nigerian workers, on our sacrifice that we are so much committed in terms of where we find ourselves today. Now, let me tell you the truth, the honest truth is we're almost going into 2019. The National Assembly went on recession for about 2 months, if I'm not mistaken, almost 1 month plus, before they came back. And here we are that, of course, this new minimum wage is going to be a law. Mr. President is going to send in his own white papers to the National Assembly and then send in the new bill that will take in the figures of the new minimum wage for the National Assembly to pass, and then it becomes into law. From the 18th of next month, Sharon, we're aware that the politicians will start their campaigns. Where will the governors be? Where will the National Assembly members be? They will all be in the field, be in their communities to begin to campaign for vote of Nigerian workers. And so we felt these tactics, this tactical delay or approach of government, trying to delay the process of governance, of the new minimum wage, is an intentional act.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.